Welcome to Truth Talks, home for the stories they don't want you to hear. Hit the chat, smash the membership button, and keep those super chats coming. But first, let me paint a picture. A 6-year-old, yes, a 6-year-old cusses out her teacher with more venom than a drill rapper. A 10-year-old is throwing hands with a grown man on TikTok Live while his friends, get this, cheer him on. And then there is a 4-year-old who is unleashing hell in Target. Now, he's not alone because mom is there, but she is too busy perfecting her selfies. And then a 15-year-old walks into school with a gun. Yes. And sadly, and I must say very, very sadly, executes his classmates. Now, here's the question we're asking today. It's really about society. Are we too scared? Are we too scared to ask the role of parents? And should parents be punished? Should they be held accountable for the actions of these kids? Because let's be real, in 2025, parenting can feel like damage control. And tonight, no apologies, no tap dancing around the truth. Let's talk, because truth talks on. Right here, y'all, YouTube, check us out at Truth Talks Live. We are starting right now.
Are y'all ready to roll? Let's go.
Welcome to Truth Talks. That was one of the legal legends, Areva Martin. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you again.
Always my pleasure to be here with my amazing co-host.
Well, some of them are amazing. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Speaking of amazing, Frank Ski, the name in Atlanta DJing, the name in Atlanta radio. I was on his show once. Fantastic, brother. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. Come on, man. This is going to be great. I can't wait to talk my truth.
Hell yeah. And Cheyenne Bryant.
Please don't. You do not have to introduce me. I can introduce myself. What's up, Truth Avengers? It's your favorite doc, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I may do Toure a favor and allow him to actually make some points today. They won't be good points, but, I'll fall back and let him make some points, which means the show may not be as good, but you hear somebody in the background. That'll be Toure. That'll be Toure, Frank, Areva. That'll be them. But glad to be in good company with Frank and Areva.
Yeah, we have soul playing over here. Jesus Christ. All right, we got a lot to get
jealous already because I haven't been on Frank's radio show.
Oh, we got to get that. We got to get that popping. Let's go.
I'll help you out. But we got a lot to get into today. An amazing panel. Up first, trending truths.
What's up, Truth fam? It's your girl, Cheyenne. And yes, season 2 of True Talks is here, and we are turning up even higher.
Yo, it's your man, Toure, the newest co-host on the set, and I'm bringing heart, heat, and hard truth every night.
And we are keeping it all the way fire. Ain't no filters, ain't no fluff, just straight facts. Y'all know how we do.
So stop scrolling and pull up to our YouTube at Truth Talks-Live. Like, subscribe, and smash that bell.
And after you do that, join us because we go live weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern on all the coasts. Wherever you are, from culture to controversy, we say what everyone else is scared to say.
We talk truth. Season 2 of Truth Talks. Let's go. Because this time, we ain't asking. We're taking the mic. All right, let's get into trending truth. Gucci Made's wife, Keyshia says, Gooch doesn't have to do anything but shower and make music because she wants to take care of everything else for her husband. Take a look.
Only thing Gucci got to do is shower. He don't got to do nothing else. I do everything for that man, but not because I have to do it. I want to. I enjoy taking care of him. I enjoy him just being happy and going to the studio and doing music. I don't want him to worry about the bills. Worry about what he got to eat. Worry about nothing. That man, all he got to do is bathe child and go do his shows go to the studio, that is it. The wife takes care of everything else, and I love doing it. And if I don't do it, I would be miserable.
Why do you think you'd be miserable?
Because I want to take care of my man. I don't want nobody else to do it. I want you to pay so-and-so to do this. A chef, I cook for him. I buy his clothes. I do everything.
Yes.
I invest. I do great investments. The thing is, when you have a man, you want that man to need you, not want you. And Gucci needs me. He can't function without me, and that's what you want in a relationship.
As Lil Wayne says, shout out my nigga Gucci. Kaor and Gucci have been together since 2010. When he got incarcerated, she took $2 million that he gave her. She turned it into $6 million through her businesses, cosmetics, fitness. And when he got released, she gave it back to him. And then they got married in 2017. But while he's away, she's holding him down. She's being loyal. She's taking care of the family and raising his bank account, raising their bank account. That's why you get married, because she's a super keeper. Doc, is this submission or is this strength?
I think it's both. Listen, this man gave her $2 million that set her and those kids up for life. When a man does something of that magnitude, I think that he deserves everything Keyshia, Kior said and more. And I agree with her when she says, hey, look, if I didn't do it, I'd be miserable. I mean, some women, that is the way that they show love. And I for me, I think submission is a strength. And I think it is a love language for many women. I 100% agree with Keyshia. I love them as a couple. I love their story. Love that Gucci set her up and did the providing in the provision thing. And then he got out of prison and, hey, he had a whole, red carpet laid out for him, as he should.
Frank, she's running businesses. Your wife's a doctor. So you're probably not getting the same level of taking care of everything. But
Right.
What do you think about this setup?
I think the one thing that Cheyenne said that's important is that he deserves. Why is it all of a sudden a man has to do something like that to get what he's supposed to get because he's the husband? Why does he have to earn that type of behavior? And when I posted this on my social, a lot of women said, if my man did me like that, I would give him that. And I think we've kind of lost our way when we're qualifying what love and marriage is supposed to be. So evidently, if your man worked at Taco Bell, you're not going to give him that type of treatment.
I mean, Frank, we are judged on how we provide.
That's my point.
That's my point. Women,
yeah.
Then, and I mean, I can understand if I can provide you $1 million lifestyle, you have time and energy to be doing all this stuff for me. If you got to go out and work or, bend over backwards to take care of us, how can I be doing all this taking care of you?
I think that the thing is, that's part of it. The other part is, I'm sure Keyshia Kaor understands she is leaving no room for any side chick to have any means to get close to that man whatsoever. That's the other part that nobody's talking about. She's making sure nobody else can get in to even give a little piece to become the side chick, because she's handling everything.
That's not how that game works at all. That is about greed. That is about a man wanting to have all the toys. Areva, no matter how great that woman treats him, he still may or may not run off and do something on the side. It's about greed, but
it's not about treating. It's not about treating. It's about covering the bases. A side chick will find an avenue to get her little thing in there to get noticed, and that's not happening.
No side. Hold on, Areva. No side chick gonna come in unless he brings her in. But Areva, what does it take for a man to get a woman to give him this sort of treatment? Because I think part of what Frank's getting at, if he works at Taco Bell or what have you, honorable job, but he's not taking care of her the way that Gucci Mane could take care of his wife. Is she going to be willing to take care of him in this way?
Well, I've been sitting on my hands, Toure. Let me just address a couple of things that were said. First of all, all power to Keyshia, no hate, but that ain't how, I'm raising my daughters to be a relationship with men. So, everybody do what they do best and how they want to present themselves in this world, be, their authentic selves. But that ain't,
What's wrong with that?
it ain't nothing wrong with what Keyshia's doing. It's just not the way I'm doing it. It's not the way I'm teaching my daughters to do it. And this whole point about a side chick, a man will have a side chick no matter what a woman does for him. So Keyshia can cook, clean, buy his clothes, wipe his butt, birth him, and bathe him and do whatever. And he still could go out and get a side chick. So this has nothing to do with what Keyshia does for him. This has to do with the character of Gucci or any other man. And Keyshia says she wants her man to need her. Look, I'm a mother at 3 kids. I don't want a grown-ass man to need me. I want a grown-ass man to want me, because that's the kind of relationship I want to be in. And that's the kind of relationship I want my daughters to be in. Kids need their parents. Grown people should want to be in a relationship. It shouldn't be a dependency. We know that dependency can turn into something toxic as well. So again, I'm not going to hate on Keyshia and Gucci. If it works for them, more power to them. But we've seen this all too often where women give 110%. They cook, they clean, they do all that work, and a man still walks away, cheats on them, and does all kinds of other, horrible stuff to them. So,
but cooking
the food ain't gonna keep your man there.
Should a wife not be doing lots of things like this for her husband?
They should do it if that's what they choose to do in their relationship. But what is the man doing for the wife? It's not a one-way street. Relationships are reciprocal. So what is the man doing for the woman? It shouldn't be just about the chores, the household chores. Look, if we got money and we ball and get a damn maid, get a housekeeper. I got stuff to do too. I have dreams to fulfill. I don't know if I want to just be tied to a stove. Some women, they want to do that. This whole trad wife movement, we've seen that on social media where a lot of women want to go back to the 50s and, be that homemaker, but a lot of women don't.
I find it interesting that as soon as we start talking about the wife doing for the husband, you gave that like half a sentence and you're like, well, what's he doing for me? Like, clearly she's getting whatever she wants from the situation. And I don't want a trad wife, right? I don't know that that's fulfilling for a lot of women, but I think giving back to the husband and giving him things and acts of service for him, that's very valuable and interesting. I don't know why you're like, I trained my daughters to not do that. Like, why would you not? But why could that not be part of how the marital relationship is?
If that's the marital relationship that you choose to be in, and not all women choose to be in that relationship. So why are you giving short shrift to the way that I train or I, raise my kids? Keyshia's mom, or maybe the women around her taught her to be that, to show her love in the way that she does. I'm not hating on that, but you can't hate on the way I'm teaching my daughters.
But what are you teaching your kids?
That relationships are reciprocal. That you get together with a guy or whomever you choose to be with, and you all decide what's best for that relationship. And it may not be cooking and cleaning and bathing and shopping for the man. It may be, he's doing that for you, or maybe nobody's doing that. Maybe you all are mutually agreeing to support each other in whatever that support looks like. But I don't think there's a decide what's best for that relationship. And it may not be cooking and cleaning and bathing and shopping for the man. It may be, he's doing that for you, or maybe nobody's doing that. Maybe you all are mutually agreeing to support each other in whatever that support looks like. But I don't think there's a one size fits all for relationships. And we have to give room for the way different people move in their relationships. And we also know that men can, and historically in our patriarchal male society, men have used power over women to cause women to do those things and to be unequal in those kinds of relationships. So I would be very concerned about the power dynamics in a relationship like that.
Yeah, Doc, I mean, it's definitely true that men have generally used women for their labor within relationships. So Areva's absolutely right about that. But I mean, like, I don't, and obviously nobody's saying there's only one way to do this, but like, I don't think anything is wrong with the sister saying, what can I give to my man? What can I do for my man? Especially if he's thinking about her. Clearly, Gucci's thinking about her as well. It's clearly a mutual relationship.
Yeah, first of all, I think Frank's statement is bullshit, that she is playing this role, and this role was supposed to keep a man from cheating. A man cheats because he wants
What I said.
and a man is kept because he wants to be there. Women don't keep a man, first of all. Second of all, there is nothing wrong with what she's doing. To echo what my sister Reva said, everyone relationships differently. And this is a man who Keyshia feels obviously, and I'll double down on what I said again, Frank, who is deserving of her love to the capacity that she's giving him. And I think if it works for them, she should run that play. And I want to say, Toure, to answer your question, if a man was working at Taco Bell, McDonald's, or a plumber, if that woman chooses that man, then I do believe that woman should also treat that man as a husband. I don't think the way a man is treated should be predicated off of how much money he brings in the home. If you choose him, then you should be able to treat that man as a valuable husband, and no different than any man you would treat if they were making more money than a man who's making McDonald's or Taco Bell money.
Frank, that's not realistic. Obviously, I think it's quite clear that they treat us differently to the level that we're providing for them.
Let me just say this. My point about the cheating wasn't about doing that. My point is Keyshia is setting an example. She's marking her territory, setting an example so that an outside woman won't try it, because you can't keep up with that. Just like Doc was saying, nobody's going to keep up with that type of action. But I do want to go back to the point of saying, we've mentioned that it's reciprocal. Many of us have been through relationships and understand that that's not the real way relationships work. Sometimes I got to be 99% and I don't get shit back, and then sometimes my wife got to be 99% and she ain't getting shit back. So reciprocal is not in a marriage. A marriage is I do what is supposed to be done for my family, regardless of what my wife does, because biblically it's my job to do it. I don't have to do it because of anything else. The fact that I love her and I want to shower her and I want to do that for her, and she has to do the same for me. The problem is people go through divorce, and right when they're in counseling, they'll say, I did this, I did that. And the other person's like, that ain't my love language, so it don't matter. So if the point is what you do is not what matters, it's making sure you have the conversation and you do what feels good for your relationship.
Yeah, I mean, what she does for him sounds amazing. I think it's definitely tied to him being a multi-million-dollar provider for her. But I mean, like, I want to give to my wife what I think is right. If I'm cleaning up the kitchen every night, even though I didn't make or have dinner at home that night, that's me giving to her. And I'm not going to say, well, you do it tomorrow. There's no 50-50 in marriage. Generally, the woman's going to do most of the work. So, I mean, like, to what Areva's saying, the man should be trying to do as much as he can for her beyond just providing. But I definitely love to see a sister thinking about what can I do to take care of my man. But it's been a wild week in politics. Let's move on and talk about an Obama clapback up next in politicking.
What's up, Truth Fam? It's official. We just made this whole channel a movement. Truth Talks YouTube memberships are live with 3 exclusive tiers. Now, for the realists, Tier 1 is for our truth tellers, the frontline team, the day one, spreading the truth, repping the brand, making noise in the comments. You can even get early access to our viral videos. Now, Tier 2 is what we call our receipt holders. They keep the proof, get the bonus tea, and never miss a lie. You get all the Tier 1 perks, a live shout out from me on the show, plus a discount on all of your truth gear in the Truth Talk store. Then there's Tier 3, our Truth Keepers VIP, the elite squad, with all the perks, a direct line to host meet and greets, private video shout outs from our celebrity guests to post on social, and exclusive unfiltered tea. So which one are you? A teller, a holder, or a keeper of truth? Hit that join button and claim your spot. Step behind the velvet rope and stay ahead of the game. Let's get it, fam. It's Truth Talks Live, the stories they don't want you to hear.
In a rare move, President Obama clapped back after Trumpy accused him of treason in a hate-filled lunatic rant. Take a look.
Obama's spokesperson responded in part, And I quote, "Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction."
That, Frank,
Yeah.
the constant nonsense coming out of this White House. I like this clapback. What do you think about this from Obama?
I think it wasn't a clapback at all because it didn't come from Obama. Let's be real. People want to hear from Obama in person, and he ain't saying nothing. I've talked about this on my show. They want him. They don't want his office. The office. Come on, stop it.
This is him. This is him talking. This is a way of him talking. This comes from him.
That don't come from him. When he ran and whatever, he didn't make statements from the office. He got on there and said it himself. The bottom line is, people want him to speak. He don't want to do it no more. I get it. But at the end of the day, this isn't the political world we're in right now. Sending memos from an office or a statement from an office is not the political world we live in when the president has his own social media site where he gets on there every day, several times a day, and says what he wants to say. That's what people expect now. This, that's come on now, Obama.
I don't like the idea that Obama would allow Trump to change the way that he does presidency. He is dignified. He understands the way that this game is supposed to be played. This is the way that Obama responds to an attack on Obama. This is not Obama talking about Trump is leading us in a dictatorship, that Trump is leading us off the edge. This is him defending himself, and he's doing it in a dignified way that a president is supposed to do it.
Well, I think the problem is, I think the problem is that Donald Trump has redefined what the presidency is. Yeah. And Toure, the way Obama responded, you're right, is Obama I think the problem is that Donald Trump has redefined what the presidency is. Yeah. And Toure, the way Obama responded, you're right, is Obama-esque. It's the way Obama has moved about the world and moved about, in his political career. But we are in a different moment. And the way the Obama moved about the world is no longer relevant to the world that we are living in. And that's why folks like Frank and so many of us are frustrated that we're not seeing Obama out on I won't say the campaign trail, but out speaking around the country, speaking to voters, speaking to Democrats, speaking to American people about the nonsense coming out of the White House. And yes, I think it was appropriate for him to issue a statement through his spokesperson, but it would also be really, really good. And we need to hear from Obama because he is the most high profile Democrat we have. To reassure us that we can get back to this country to something that looks like a country where folks' rights are protected and not trampled on. So a good first start. I'm going to give him a C for effort, but I'm going to say step it up. Step it up, Obama. We need to hear from you. We need to hear from you in a much, much more forceful and direct way.
Cheyenne, what do you think?
I think Obama should stay in his authenticity. I think he's that, when they go low, go high, brother. I don't think he should shift up and come off of whatever pedestal he's on because of dogma and what people have to say. He has been a president. None of us and the other folks who have such a strong opinion has been in the Oval Office or know the pressure that comes with. And so I think he should stand on his square like he has been and respond how he wants to, or better yet, not respond if that's something he chooses not to do. I don't think that we need to tell him, as folks, how he should respond or if he should say a hard fuck you. I think he should just stay on his square and be him. It worked thus far for him.
I just think it's important for Obama, and I think it is important to Obama, to not allow Trump to change the presidency in ways that will go beyond the Trump presidency. He is a buffoon. He is a child. He is immature. Obama should not follow him into that. My God, I would never want an Obama-Trump back and forth chirping. Well, you're a third-rate president. Well, you're that would be beneath Obama. It's not beneath Trump because he's a child. But Obama should not be chirping back and forth with him. Again, this is Obama defending himself. So he's going to do this in a quick and dignified way. If he was standing up defending the country, he would do it in a different way. Areva, now, I know we're in a difficult situation. Now would not be the time for him to be making speeches and trying to defend the country in that way, because he wouldn't be able to say, well, where do we put the energy? You're giving these speeches. Well, give us somebody to vote for. Give us somewhere to go when if we have an actual election in 2028, he will be there for the Democratic candidate saying, okay, so take your energy, don't boo, vote for her or him or them, but not just, I'm just giving a general speech saying the country's going off in the wrong direction, Areva.
I totally disagree with you, Toure. I think the president can walk and chew gum at the same time. He can continue to be presidential. He can continue to be his authentic self. But at the same time, he can stand up for the values and the rights of particularly those whose rights are being trampled, i.e. immigrants, i.e. people of color, i.e. people who have been disenfranchised in this country. And I disagree about there's no one to vote for. There are elections happening every day in this country, pivotal elections at the local level, at the congressional level.
We don't vote every day.
On because they
we
are
don't vote every day. We vote once a year. We don't vote for people every day.
No, you're wrong about that. There are elections happening all over this country, not the presidential election. Of course, that's every 4 years. But we lost the House. We lost the Senate. We've lost state houses around this country. There are pivotal elections happening in this country every day. There are pivotal elections about who's going to run our Congress, who's going to run our state houses, who's going to be in the governor's offices.
Just for one thing,
as states like Texas are rewriting their political lines so that they can garner 5 more congressional seats. There are really important elections happening where Obama's very important.
Obama can't say anything about immigration. He deported more people than Trump has. I mean, like, he's got blood on his hands around immigration as well. So just on that specific issue, he would have no position to speak up in favor of immigrants when we called you the deporter in chief. I mean, like, we love him personally, but there are some political issues that he cannot weigh in on. And he understands also that the bully pulpit of the ex-presidency is very limited. He could give one major speech in a 2025 context. He can't keep giving speeches and speeches and speeches. He will be diminishing his own power and the power of the presidency with it.
Listen, let me just say this. That is totally BS. Number one, you're talking about the president that had the most swag in the world. You're talking about Mr. Ray-Ban getting off of Air Force One. He didn't have any problems talking about Trump when he was on the campaign trail for the presidential election. He said that man's name every single time he got to the mic. He shouted him out. He talked bad about him. He showed his thing. He said everything you can say about Trump. So saying that he can't talk about Trump is some BS. He refuses and does not want to talk about Trump right now. And this is the time we need him to talk about Trump, because Trump is setting the narrative. In this world that we live in now is way different. OK, right now, Obama needs to be Kendrick Lamar and get DJ Mustard and do what he needs to do, because this right here that he's doing right now is too passive for the type of situation we're in right now. Period.
It's 2025. If he raises the energy about how bad Trump is, which we already know, Obama people already agree on that point. There's nothing that he can tell us that we don't already know. What is he telling us to do? We cannot vote this year. There's not a major election this year.
Please stop with that. We can't vote. You're wrong about that. There are critical local elections that are taking place. Please stop saying we can't vote, because people should be voting. Yeah. There are really important elections happening around this country.
No, I understand there are critical elections happening in November, not every day, but Obama would see next year is a major midterm, secondary tier, right? We're still 2 years, 3 years now away from a presidential election. So Obama's going to be thinking about something bigger. If there's a specific candidate that he could get behind, he would. He doesn't usually get behind specific candidates. He certainly doesn't usually get behind specific Congress people.
With all due respect, it's not about getting behind the candidate. It's about setting the stage for what's about to happen. It's the example is Donald Trump talks about Joe Biden. He always says, Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Joe. He is very disrespectful. When he talks about Obama, it's Barack Hussein. It's Barack Hussein. We need to start talking about Trump like the convicted felon. Like, You need to go back and forth. This is a different time in 2025.
Wait a minute. Dems do that, right? Democrats do that. I mean, Democrats could not be any angrier or think less of Trump. I don't want Dems to become Republicans in blue. I don't need Obama out here talking about he's convicted. Like, we know this. I don't understand what you're saying we're adding to the discord that's not already there.
Perception is reality.
Bash Trump constantly. Do we need Obama?
No. Perception is reality.
Player in chief.
We live in a world now where social media is setting the perception. Nobody understands what's right or wrong. What people understand is what they hear the most. And the Trump machine pushes their narrative. It is time for the Democrats to push their narrative. There can't be one or two Democratic House people that are trying to push the narrative. Everybody needs to be behind the narrative. Trump is a convicted felon. That's what he is. He's been convicted or indicted, right? He's indicted. He's terrible. And they need to push that. Every time they say his name, they need to say that.
But we do understand, Frank, that the convicted felon tag is not moving voters. That's not moving people away from Trump. It's not, and the people who don't vote for Trump already hate him. So we're not gaining anything by reminding people yet again he's a convicted felon. We know that on the left, and the right doesn't care. So we would need to say something that would actually matter to the people in the middle who are leaving Trump, right? In January, he had 50% of independents. Now he's looking at 33% of independents. So he's bleeding the middle, which is exactly what we want. But like, we would have to say things that would matter to them. They already know he's a convicted felon. They already know he's a horrible person. And they still voted for him. So we need to find something new to say.
Ask Jasmine Crockett. See what she says. That's your answer.
No, I mean, go ahead, Areva.
Yeah, Toure, I'm just sitting here baffled by your sense that there's nothing to say, or even that saying that he's a convicted felon somehow is not moving the needle. We know this concept of moving the needle is not any single comment that any Democrat can make. It's the collective comments that we are all making, all of us using our platforms. We all have an obligation to remind voters about how horrible this president is, about how he is bleeding the middle class, about how he is kicking millions of people off their Medicaid benefits, about how he is going into schools and to public parks and arresting people who are here who are undocumented, not the violent criminals that he promised us that he would arrest and that he would deport. Yeah. And so this notion that we shouldn't say that he's a convicted felon is ridiculous. We should say that and say it every time we have an opportunity to. Now, it doesn't mean we say that exclusively. We should also be talking about his horrible policies and the lies that he's told the American people. And you have to do it over and over and over again. You just can't tee it up when there's a presidential election. You've got to be out in the ecosystem, as Frank mentioned, the social media ecosystem, because that's what Republicans have done. They have dominated the media, and they don't just do it when elections come around. They do it all the time. And we are losing at that. And we need our big voices like Obama. We need the congressional people like Jasmine Crockett. We need journalists like you. We need everyone using their platform, reminding American people about the horrors of a Donald Trump and the MAGA, not just Trump, but the MAGA folks who are also running for these critical offices around the country, so that we're not caught flat-footed when we get to the presidential election.
We know all these things about him as a country. And what we're seeing is that the right and many people in the middle are not moved. And part of the problem is that in a lot of ways, we are not in the traditional left-right dynamic. We're in a more of a status quo versus change dynamic, that the country is seeing one party wants the status quo and one party wants change. And they're really seeing that it's Republicans who want change, and the electorate generally wants change. And the Democrats, even though we're not in power, are for the status quo, it seems. So what the Democrats have to offer is not a further critique of Donald Trump. The left is clear on that. What is the Democratic Party for? What are they going to offer you? If we vote against Trump, what will we be voting for? And it can't just be a repudiation of Trumpism. It has to be a thing. So even if Obama came out and criticized Trump, what would that do to build the next vision of Democratic leadership, or the next person who would be the Democratic leader? And if the Democrats can't say, this is what we're about, then what are we really even talking about? Go ahead, Doc.
Listen, everyone already knows that Trump is a felon. Everyone already knows that Trump is a Trumpster, and they already know his rhetoric. Rerunning that narrative over and over and over again via social media and all media platforms does nothing. He got in office with folks knowing that he was a felon. So that's just doing that whole redundancy that Democrats do that doesn't work because they just need something to do. We have bigger fish to fry called policy and legislation that we need to focus on, that we need to create an author that does serve us and does affect us and does impact us. That's how we lost the Congress, Senate, and the Supreme Court, is because we're focusing on trying to figure out why. Let's ride Obama's back on how he can have a response that can over Trump's foolishness and join this circus. How about let's pull back the circus, let's pull back the bullshit and focus on the things that are going to serve us. Again, that's policy and legislation. That's not two grown men in office having an argument that doesn't help or benefit the people whatsoever, which really isn't leadership. Leaders need to be leading and need to be putting things in place that provide services and resources for their people to thrive, not for their people to be on the sideline going, oh, Trump had a better response. Oh, Obama had a better response. That's bullshit. It doesn't work. And that's how we ended up in this situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Obama is definitely part of why we are here, that when Democrats said we want a progressive like Bernie Sanders, Obama was part of the group that put his finger on the scale and said, no, we're going to have Joe Biden. He's moderate. He can win. Well, he won once, but we are here now because Obama made the Biden candidacy happen. And now look where we are. Let's move on to our next subject. Should parents of kids who commit crimes also be punished? You all know Dr. Bryant and I have strong opposing opinions on corporal punishment. I'm right, she's wrong. Tonight's topic cuts deep into parenting styles, culture, community, accountability, and systemic failure. Should parents be blamed for their children's criminal behavior? Take a look at this video.
Their son, Ethan Crumbley, murdered 4 students and wounded 7 others at Oxford High School outside Detroit in 2021. They bought him the gun he used in the shooting and failed to secure it. Before hearing her fate, Jennifer Crumbley was defiant, insisting she did nothing wrong.
We were good parents. We were the average family. We weren't perfect, but we loved our son and each other tremendously.
There was raw emotion in court as family members of the 4 slain students gave victim impact statements.
This tragedy has taken an incredible toll on our family.
While you were running away from your son and your responsibilities, I was forced to do the worst possible thing a parent could do. I was forced to say goodbye to my medicine.
The blood of our children is on your hands, too.
They asked for mercy, but were given the max, 10 to 15 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter.
Areva, I believe that was the first time that parents in this country were convicted because of their child's actions, which sent a chill through a lot of homes. There's definitely a lot of parents who are like, I love my child. I'm doing the best I can. My child, I don't know. My child might. It's possible. So I want you to address 2 questions. First, your child or their child, somebody's child goes and does something horrible, like the Crumbley's child. In that case, should the parents be held criminally responsible? Secondarily, if they are part of giving the child the weapon that the child uses, obviously the parents don't expect the child to go shoot up the school or what have you, or shoot up their friend, whatever. But then that happens. In that case, also, should the parents be held legally, criminally responsible?
Yeah, it's no doubt in my mind that parents should be held accountable for the criminal actions of their children based on the circumstances. Now, not in every situation, no. But in the situation like the Crumbleys and some of the other cases that we've seen where parents had clear red flags, they had warnings, they had knowledge, they had opportunity, and they did nothing about it. The Crumbley case was particularly egregious because these parents were neglectful. This kid was crying out for help. He had some severe mental health challenges, and he kept asking for help from his parents. And they pretty much turned a blind eye to his needs. And they put the gun, they gave the gun. If you recall the facts of this case, I believe it was the parents who gave him a gun for a Christmas present. And then failed to secure that gun. We have a lot of laws on the books in states around this country that make parents responsible when they bring a firearm into their homes, make them responsible for safekeeping it and ensuring that kids don't have access to it. So as harsh as that may be, and these parents are facing some pretty serious prison time, yes, you as a parent, when you take on the responsibility of parenting, it's not just the kisses and hugs and the pretty dresses and the Disneyland visits. It comes with a lot of responsibility.
Well, I mean, obviously parenting comes with a lot of responsibility. Everybody knows that. I mean, like, I find it extraordinarily uncomfortable given the circumstances, considering the circumstances, each specific situation, to hold parents criminally responsible for children, especially you're talking about a mental health situation. Surely that's not the parent's fault that the child has a mental health situation. There's a lot of things that children do that are not the parent's fault. There's many parents who are working very hard to try to save their children, to protect their children from themselves, and the child does something. It actually leads to saying the parents don't want to disclose certain things about the child, because for fear of, like, God forbid something happens and then we are held responsible. Frank, this is a little bit different for Black families, though, right? Absolutely. Because for Black families, we understand that, you know, if a child, especially a Black boy, especially a teenage boy, makes a certain kind of mistake out in the real world, that could be their life. So a lot of times as Black parents, we parent a little stricter because we want the child to understand and not get hurt. So you wonder, like, are we shielding them? Are we stunting them? Are we properly preparing them for the real world?
Listen, let's keep it real. As a parent of older children and even younger children now, let's point to the real world. Real world, number one, if I take my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese and somebody else's kid jumps on my daughter, who am I getting ready to jump on? They parents. Control your kids. Yes, your kids are your responsibility from 1 all the way until they become an adult, period. If your kids are going out here wrecking havoc, you're responsible. If your kids do something wrong, you're responsible. If your kids mess up the neighbor's house, guess who they calling? You, and you're responsible. You are responsible for your children, and the hood will make you responsible. Now, in the real world, legally, yes, if your kid doesn't go to school every day and they're always, truant and they don't go to school, the state will come up in your house and deal with the parents because you're letting your kids do that. So let's not pretend that doesn't happen. It happens.
If your child punches somebody at school, should you go to prison?
I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is I will go to the school and make sure the school's handling it. But if the school don't handle it, as a parent, I'm going to protect my child. Yes, absolutely.
Let me just.
That's not the question, Frank. That's not the question, Frank. Sorry, Areva. That's not the question, Frank. The parent's responsibility for the children's bad behavior. And yes, the parent will feel responsible and feel guilty anytime the child does something. But Frank, sometimes, quite often, these children come out of the hospital being who they are. And as much as the parents try to model and talk them into being good kids or whatever, they have demons, they have issues, they have serious mental health issues, whatever. Something happens and they go astray. And parents quite often are doing everything they can to try to save the child. Holding the parents responsible, to me, misses the point.
No, not true at all. Not true. There are a lot of parents who, yes, in this day and time, I hear from them all the time when their kids hit that 14, even younger now, 14, 15, 16, and they're out in the street and they're joining gangs and parents are like, I can't control my kid. Yes, I get that part. There's a lot of parents who have called the police on their own children and have called and asked for help Yes, that part we understand. But what was the point I said? The parents have called and asked for help. These parents that we started this show with never called and asked for help for their kid. Matter of fact, they made it worse by giving their kid a gun. That's a whole different thing, bro. That's a whole different thing.
Doc, what do
And
you
that's
think?
what I was trying to say, Toure. You're conflating the facts. The Crumbleys would not have been charged if they had made a couple of phone calls to a therapist, if they had talked to the school, if they had done anything to show some interest and take responsibility for their kid who was crying out for help. And no, I'm not advocating for parents to be arrested when they've done what they can do to help a child that has mental health issues. And no, I didn't suggest that parents are responsible for the mental health issues that kids have. Of course, we don't cause our kids to have mental health challenges, although some toxic situations can exacerbate a mental health condition. But you can't just turn a blind eye. You can't ignore. You can't put a gun in the hands of a kid who you know is mentally challenged and then not expect to be held accountable. You can't put a kid who has a drinking problem behind a car and then he runs into and kills some other kids and say, oh, I had nothing to do with that. So let's keep the facts clear. If you have taken steps, if you've called authorities, if you've asked the school, if you've asked for help, that's a whole different situation than you completely. This mom in the Crumbly case, she was off having an affair. And no offense to her if she wanted to have an affair, but she wasn't taking care of her kid. She was taking care of her own needs, but she was not tending to the needs of her very, very disturbed teenage boy.
Areva, I think parenting styles vary from survival tactics, to more permissive, therapy first sort of conversational approaches. There's lots of different things. What do you think, Areva? I wonder if we're raising kids to be resilient or defiant.
I think we're raising kids to be resilient. And I think different parenting styles are appropriate. You can't parent all children the same way, even within a family where you have multiple kids. One style, being a tough disciplinarian, may work on one of your kids. That other kid may go ballistic and rebel against that parenting style. So it's incumbent upon parents to understand each of their children and then to parent that child in a way that is going to lead to the best outcomes for that child. Look, we grew up in an age where you were to be seen and not heard. Kids couldn't ask questions. They couldn't have opinions. They couldn't say anything. Just sit your butt in the corner and shut up, particularly when adults were speaking. And now, as Maya Angelou told us, when you know better, you do better. Now we know that kids have opinions and that kids should be heard and that kids should be allowed to participate in family discussions and even be involved in discussions around them and how they are raised and how they are disciplined in a family. So I don't think we're teaching our kids to be defiant. We are just understanding that the sit down, shut up, belt approach to parenting that was used on so many of us is not the way to parent kids in this generation.
Yeah, and to get back on topic, you want to go to the question first, Toure?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we normalize dysfunction by labeling things, mental health issues, before we look at the parenting.
Yeah. So to get back on subject, first of all, it's circumstantial. In this situation, this was parental neglect. So these parents should be responsible for doing jail time. One, they neglected the needs of the child. They knew that there was mental health issues and didn't provide that child resources that he needed. And lastly, they provide a gun that can not only harm someone else, but could have obviously taken his life as well, because we know mental health issues lead to suicidal ideations and suicide. And I want to rebuttal what Areva said. A lot of mental illnesses, when it comes to depression and when it comes to anxiety and when it comes to suicide ideations, are at the hands of or as a result of trauma. And that trauma often takes place in the households. And just because a parent is present does not mean that they don't present a dysfunction that can cause trauma that then turns into mental health and dysfunction that leads to a child having a lot of issues, a lot of antisocial issues, and even possibly harming themselves or other people.
The question is, the way we were raised, most of us, a lot of us were raised with tough love. There was no gray area in between. It was this way, period. Even if our parents were wrong, we still had to deal with that. Yeah. So we're a different type of generation than this generation that gets to negotiate. My 6-year-old is learning to negotiate when she wants something. And I get on my wife. I'm like, why are you even listening to her? She's 6. Pick a side and go with it. You get what I'm saying? And I think the problem that we have in this generation now is there's too much. These kids have too much freedom and too many rights. First of all, you don't have no rights until you get out my house. You got no rights.
No.
You got no rights until you leave my house. Period.
No.
I give you rights. I give you rights when I think you are ready for the rights, and you got to prove worthy of those rights. When you're outside in the street acting up or doing the wrong thing, you get no rights. When you're bringing home bad grades, you get no rights. You get what I'm saying? When you're not doing what our standard is, you get no rights. And that's where we've messed up. We've given these kids too much too soon and too fast. First of all, I don't think a kid under 18, this is just me in my house, I don't think a kid under 18 should have a gun, period, or even access to it.
For sure. We're in a different culture around gun culture, both of us.
I'm not talking about hunting. I'm talking about a handgun. Like if you go out hunting with your father, I get it, and your father keeps it. But they gave this kid a handgun. When did he earn the right in his own house to have a handgun?
I understand the value of saying, hey, you're not getting good grades, whatever's happening outside, fine. But I think it's really important. I think what your wife is doing as far as the negotiating with the 6-year-old is really valuable, because I think it's really important to teach the children from the youngest age, your thoughts matter, your feelings matter, your opinion matters. You have the right to express your opinion politely, and obviously the parent is going to make the last decision. But as a parent, we should be trying to say yes as much as possible. We should be trying to affirm the child's own sense of what they should do or what they want to do. Because the minute decision of whether we should go left or right, tie our shoes or not in this situation is less important than teaching the child, listen to your own voice. Have enough self-esteem to believe that you are right, that you can solve your problem. So when they are away from you, they will have a sense of esteem and confidence in their own belief system and their own decision-making capacity in themselves. That is the most powerful gift that we can give to our children. And Areva, sometimes, we see children going through tantrums in public, and you say, maybe it's autism, maybe it's sensory overload. We don't know what that child is going through. If your neurotypical 5-year-old is out of control, and I don't know what out of control means, because the child is dealing with a mind that is not serving the body. That's not their fault. But then people might say, well, what's going to happen when that child gets to be 10? Well, they'll still be neurotypical. So they'll still be dealing with a mind that is not serving the body. So they will still need medication and perhaps therapy to help the mind meet the body. So, still that child may end up having a run-in with somebody, who's the brother in Denver, Elijah McClain, neurotypical, neuroatypical, and, got killed, murdered by the police. So what do we do for our children who are neuroatypical and we want to protect them from themselves? How do we do it?
Wow, it's a big question, and it depends. There's no one size fits all to this approach to parenting, whether your kid is typical or whether your kid is neurodivergent. You've got to learn what your kid is going to respond to. And Frank, with all due respect, I hear what you're saying. Many of us were raised in households like yours where you had no rights until you were 18. There was no negotiating. But look, a lot of folks who grew up in those homes are sitting in jail cells today. A lot of folks who grew up in those homes with all of that strict discipline have engaged in violent conduct, has engaged in all kinds of conduct. So just by being a strict disciplinarian doesn't guarantee that your child is going to be an active and productive member of society. So a lot of that tough love that we all got turned out to be really, really bad, and taught us many of us to be violent, and taught us to just replicate what we saw in the household. So Toure, again, to your question, this is all about, painting by the numbers, but recognizing that the numbers are different for each child. And if you are just using a one size fits all approach to parenting, you are getting it wrong, plain and simply.
Yes.
I don't think being tough doesn't mean love.
Of course.
You got to have structure. What kids lack today is the structure. And the problem is, you got to give them the structure, and they have to act within the structure. When they go outside of the structure, that's when the tough love came in, because you knew better. You knew this wasn't the way to act. When you keep the right structure in your home and everybody understands what the rules are, you're better off. The problem is there's a lot of kids that the rules change every day. The rules change. Oh, you can't watch TV. You can't watch your tablet. Oh, you can't have a cell phone. You can't do this. Oh, mom wants to go out. So now that your parents are going out, now you can have your tablet, even though you're not supposed to have your tablet. You know what I'm saying? Or you're at your kid can't have a tablet, but when you go to the restaurant, we're going to give you a tablet. So what is it? This is what causes the confusion among kids because they don't have the structure.
How many kids you got, Frank?
5.
So they're all different, right?
Very much so.
They need to be parented differently. I have no idea what structure means in the paragraph you just said, but like, I'm sure you understand, like, some of the kids need a little bit more rules. Some of the kids need to not have rules. Some of the kids need me to be full forward. Some of the kids need me to lean back. Sometimes the kids need me to lean back, and sometimes they need me, right? So the parenting need within each day or year will change for each kid as the
obviously.
I don't know what structure means, and I feel like generally we need to be like water flowing with what does the child need, rather than imposing some structure that the child needs to fall into, which the child may not be able to do that.
No, what I'm saying when I talk about structure, I'm saying your house has a certain level of structure. You get up at a certain time, you have breakfast at a certain time, you're out the door at a certain time, you come home at a certain time, you have dinner at a certain time, you do your homework at a certain time. You have this space between this space and this space is your free time. This is, you got your free time. What happens is when a child has no structure and they're just left on their own, that's when you have problems come in, and every child can benefit from that. I don't know any situation where a child has no rules. What you just said, I have no idea, but every child has rules. There's some child that have different rules, but every child needs to have a set of rules. Even children that have certain mental disabilities, as a parent, you know better than to put that child in a certain situation that they can't deal with. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to put my child that has issues in a situation that I know doesn't benefit him and he can't deal with it just because it's a situation for another child. That's all.
Areva, I want to think about the parenting responsibility when somebody goes astray. And I think that generally are doing the best job that they can possibly do at any given time, right? I think most parents are not bad or neglectful parents. And raising 2 children and getting to know a lot of, I don't know that I met a lot of, there are people who are doing it differently than I do, but I don't think there's anybody like, you're a bad parent. You just don't. So if we were to criminalize parents' behavior as far as like, if your child does X, then the parent has this penalty coming, do you think that would, adding that layer of responsibility legally, do you think that would make people parent better? Do you think that would make people parent differently? Do you really think that parents would be saying, well, we can't do that because we would end up in jail, as if parents aren't already thinking, if my child ends up in jail, I am the worst parent ever?
Well, first of all, I disagree with you, Toure, that most parents are great parents. Obviously, I'd like to think that most parents love their children and are doing the best that they can. But we know that there are thousands, tens of thousands of kids sitting in foster care around this country because parents have neglected those children and they've not been good parents. They've not put the best interest of that child first. They haven't put the health and safety of that child first. So I think we have to acknowledge that there are some bad parents out there. But with that being said, I do think that the Crumbley case was a great example and a wake-up call, because I don't think many parents are thinking about the fact that when they are neglecting their kids' mental health issues, or when they are putting a gun in the hands of a 15-year-old who has mental health issues, that they could be held accountable. And I think parents need to be made aware and reminded that the actions that they take can cause them to be civilly responsible, i.e. meaning be sued in a civil lawsuit and have to pay out large monetary damages, and that there are criminal consequences that they can face if their child commits a crime. So I do think parents might think differently before they act if they were reminded that they have serious consequences that they could face given how they parent. I don't think enough parents are talking about that or thinking about it at all.
I think parents are fully conscious of the depth of responsibility in parenting, that if something bad happens to your child, that is something bad happening to you. I don't need to be personally incarcerated to feel horrible if my child ends up incarcerated. But Frank, let's talk about the teenage years, because we want to give space and privacy to our teenagers. It's a complicated time. A lot of them are saying, leave me alone all the time, and we got to respect their privacy. But what about when that space that they're demanding as teens becomes a sort of weapon, and that need to sort of come together becomes a sort of battleground? And for a lot of parents, when your child becomes a teenager, you're kind of like, I don't really know that much about them because they've kind of left me.
You know, let's put it in real terms of what's happening today. The bottom line is these kids ain't moving out. They're not trying to get out from under their parents' thing. They living at home until they 26, 27, 28 years old now or whatever. And a lot of moms, are not trying to have their kids go out in the street. I'm one of them parents who were like, when I graduated high school, the next week I was gone. That was just me. My kids were a lot different. They came back from college, wind up living with me for a while, but it took about a year to get them, 3 boys, all born in the same year, to get them out of the house. And they got out of the house after college. I think that the thing is about children, yes, you give them their space. But like I said before, things are in the real world, things are earned, right? Things are earned. When you have a child that's doing what they're supposed to be doing, there's no problem to give them their space. When you have a child that's messing up and not doing what they're supposed to be doing and not doing their homework and failing at class because they don't want to do it or acting up or whatever, that's a whole different set of situations. I don't care how much space you need, bro. You need to get them grades up. Then we could talk about giving you some space. But right now, we're going to get them grades up. And you ain't got no space until we get them grades up.
Doc, what do you think about the notion of holding parents criminally responsible for their children's behavior?
I said it earlier. I said it's circumstantial. I think that if a parent is neglecting their child of what's needed for them to be mentally stable and healthy and be in a state of mind where they can actually, operate as a citizen who isn't impaired, then I think that that parent who's providing those resources, should not be have consequence or discipline. But again, if you're neglecting your child in any manner, I think there should be consequences to a parent, no matter what, if there's neglect at the hands of a child. But y'all know how I feel. I feel gentle parenting makes for a child. I think that there are rules and in their structure, and there's a thing called boundaries, and boundaries have been proven to create healthy relationships, not just between people, but for that person within themselves. And if we raise kids with no boundaries and no structure and discipline, they go out into the world and they don't understand that, and they end up being in battles, and they end up actually having a lot of issues with law enforcement. They end up being the child that's disruptive in school and class because they don't understand that the world doesn't revolve around them. There's a big world that they are able to participate in, but they cannot be the center of attention to everything. And so I'll end on saying that what I do agree with is that every child is different, and that every child may not necessarily need the same level of discipline, but every child does need structure and discipline in order for that child to grow up and be an adult who understands that this is the law of the land. This is how life works. And successful people, not just only externally, but internally, what they do carry at the nucleus of who they are is discipline and boundaries.
We always ask, when should a parent be held responsible for their children's behavior, whether it's at school, tantrum in Walmart, whatever? Let's flip the lens. There's a difference between the parent mourning a child lost to violence and the one silently praying because their child pulled the trigger. One gets sympathy, the other gets silence, but both carry a pain the world rarely understands. So tonight, the part we never talk about, ask yourself, not as a spectator, but as a parent of a child who took a life, how should society treat that parent? Should the law hold them accountable or let them live with the weight in silence? Would you deserve compassion or a conviction or a bunch of I told you so's? It's a tough one, but that's what we do on Truth Talks. Hit us in the comments and let us know how you feel. That's all we have for tonight. Thank you for Bring the Funk family for welcoming the Truth Tellers to the channel. This is our last week on Roland Martin Unfiltered. To continue to see the show and support Black media, subscribe to our YouTube channel at TruthTalks-Live, where you can catch us every night at 8 p.m. EST and at 11 p.m. EST. Support Black media at CashApp's Truth Talks Live or on any of the links on your screen. Get your Truth Talks membership today. Click here on the screen and you can choose from 3 different exciting tiers. Black media is under attack and this show is being shadow banned. So support us by telling a friend to tell a friend to check us out every night at 8 p.m. See you next time on our channel.
Good night.